Hello and welcome to the program, The Desk on Global Television, where we look at issues from the global perspective and also at the national and subnational levels to it. Looking at all the big stories making the rounds in the course of the week and also issues that affect our national lives. So we'll be starting from the United States of America, where they've announced the readiness to offer a $25,000, approximately 43 million naira reward for anyone with useful information that could lead to the arrest of one Olalekan Abimbola Olawusi. Olawusi, a Nigerian residing in Rhode Island, US, is reportedly facing trial for alleged murder of his own son. A statement issued by the supervisory deputy U.S. Marshal Don Freeman said the 48-year-old man was arraigned on 2 counts bordering on first-degree murder caused by inflicting bodily injury to a child and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. The statement also said that Olawusi is now one of the 15 most wanted fugitives in the list on the U.S. Marshals Service. So we'll be looking at the implication of data security breach. So it was also gathered that the incident occurred on April 3rd, 2017, when the police operatives and firefighters found the seriously injured 3-month-old child and rescued him. It was, however, discovered that at the hospital that the child suffered severe injuries in 18 parts of his body, leading to the arrest of his father. All right, we'll be looking at that issues in close range, and from there we'll be taking you to other issues making one of the most talked about sex scandal in the world today has to come from the African continent, where the government of Equatorial Guinea has filed a lawsuit against Baltasar Engonga, the former director General of the country's National Financial Investigation Agency, for alleged misconduct in connection with a sex tape scandal. So we'll be looking at the issue from close quarters. The government stated that the actions of the agency chief violate the ethical and moral values of noble Equatorial Guinean society. So we'll be looking at it from the angle that now the government is deciding to prosecute him based on the issue of the sex scandal, rather than the financial misconduct that was earlier being investigated by the security agencies of Equatorial Guinea. So we'll be looking at that issue also. From there, we'll be moving our searchlight to other talking points as we look at issues also concerning Nigeria. Specifically now, we'll be looking at the oil and gas sector, where the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has said that the commencement of direct sales of Dangote's premium motor spirit to its members will crash the price of fuel in the country in the coming days. This must be good news to Nigerians, as the National Secretary of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, James Thor, disclosed this in an exclusive interview with Daily Post on Monday. His statement comes after IPMAN National President Abubakar Mai Gandhi announced on Monday that Dangote Refinery has agreed to sell petrol directly to his members. So that's good news. We're looking at the impact this will have on Nigerians, especially the fact that the agreement between IPMAN and the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote Refinery brings to an end to the middleman posture played by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. So we get to see if what is being said would happen in a couple of days, talking about the crashing of the PMS prices in the country. All right, from there, we're looking at other talking points making the rounds to issues concerning insecurity in the country. Also, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has said that police officers protecting the arrested foreign hackers were on illegal duty. We'll be looking at that from close quarters. These and other stories concerning what the groundbreaking event that played out in Edo State today, where there's a new sheriff in town, where Monday Okpeholo has been sworn in as the governor of Edo State, marking an end to the 8 years administration of Godwin Obaseki in the South State. The inauguration ceremony took place at the Samuel Ogbomindia Stadium in Benin, the state capital. This is coming 2 months after the APC clinched the ticket to the Dennis Osadebe House. Okpeholo took his oath of office alongside his running mate, Dennis Idahosa. So we're looking at the implication of this and what should the people of this state be expecting is what we'll be looking at on today's edition. These and other stories is what we share on today's edition of the program, The Desk. Let's go for a quick break. Is The Desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits?
It's The Desk on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on The Desk. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on The Desk.
Is The Desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
we are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
That this country gets it right.
who are these bandits?
It's The Desk on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on The Desk. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on The Desk.
is the desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians.
Can we not
We are
set that
the
up
Canaan
then?
because
That this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Is the desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
we are the
Can we
Palestinians.
not
We are
set
the
that up
Canaan
then?
because
That this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Is the desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
we are the
Can we
Palestinians.
not
We are
set
the
that up
Canaan
then?
because
That this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
All right, welcome back from that break. It's now time for us to hit the discuss button and look at issues making the rounds. I told you we'll be having our guest, Jeremiah Agala, who is the Executive Director of Inspiring Youth Africa Initiative at Journalist Life in the studio. And hopefully in the course of the program, we'll be having Betty Johnson, who is the Edo State APC woman leader. Hopefully will be joining us via a call to give us an insight to what's played out in Edo State today, where the executive governor was sworn in, talking about Senator Monday Okpeholo. All right, let's begin our discourse looking at issues making the rounds. Let's begin from the United States, where America has announced the readiness to offer $25,000 reward for anyone with useful information that could lead to the arrest of one Olalekan Abimbola Olawusi, a Nigerian residing in Rhode Island, U.S., for reportedly facing trial for alleged murder of his own son. A statement issued by the Supervisory Deputy U.S. Marshal Don Freeman said the 48-year-old man was arraigned on 2-count charge bordering on first-degree murder caused by inflicting bodily injury to the child and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. This happened in April 3rd, 2017, when the police operatives and firefighters found the seriously injured 3-month child and rescued him. It was, however, discovered that in the hospital that the child had suffered severe injuries in 18 parts of his body, leading to the arrest of the father, who he was subsequently arraigned on 20th 2017, but his whereabouts became unknown after he was released the same day while the trial was pending. This is a very sad commentary, but reminds us of the issue of child abuse and also hitting as a way of, reprimanding. But we're talking about a 3-month baby. What do you think is playing out here?
Thank you so much. I think there's so much we are not being told yet. A case that had been lasted since 2017 up until now, and they are just placing a bounty just now. I think there is much more we are yet to know about it. What would have happened with a country like the US, with all of its surveillance? It wouldn't have been possible for that man to just flee the scene without the aid of anybody. So I think without casting aspersions, I think there's much more that needs to be told us beyond the bounty. Somebody needs to be held accountable. Somebody needs to begin to say something about what would have happened. We are talking about a child's life here. The life of that boy is at risk. The life of that child has just been cut short at a very tender age. Yeah. So much more is to be done as far as that matter is concerned. So the bounty is good, but somebody needs to tell us what is really playing out.
All right, let's move on to Equatorial Guinea, where the big talk is about the government of Equatorial Guinea now deciding to arraign the man in the eye of the storm, the former, EFCC, like we say, anti-graft agency man, in terms of Bastassa. Do you think the change of course, because initially he was being investigated for corruption, financial, infringement, but now the case is turning towards the sex scandal. Do you think if he has a good or better lawyer, this case can be argued out?
Yes, any case can actually be argued out, but beyond just arguing a case out, this is the time the government is beginning to look critically into the matter. So beyond just the women who are involved in the matter, they must also understand that it's a national issue right now. It's gone beyond Equatorial Guinea. And if not handled properly, it will give it a bad reputation and a bad name. So I think the government coming out right now to look into the matter beyond just the allegation of corruption, it's important. What would have happened? There are so many narratives to this conversation. Some said the women did willingly, there are so many narratives. And I think the government had taken too long, just like we would always have in our Nigerian setting, where until it gets so bad, or until it becomes a national outcry, we will not do anything about it. I'll give you a typical instance. The children that were arraigned recently for whatever charges they say treason or something. Now, if not because they were brought to court and then you had this outcry, you know, from the masses, we would have not done anything with regards to releasing them. So I even read that they have now started installing CCTV cameras in all of their offices. Now they are activating their the laws around their work ethics and all that. All of these shouldn't have taken this long to get this attention. But be it as it may, they've started. I think it is important they address that matter. Also to save the lives of the people involved and to forestall future occurrence. Because you never can tell how many Batastas are actually out there waiting to unleash the same transactions on their...
Well, some people have argued the fact that those actions that took place were personal events, and the women didn't come out to sue him. Yes. So it was out of place, or he can have a good representation knowing fully well that these women didn't come out to sue him. So he should, the investigation should have stayed based on the financial infringement which he was being. And also some argue that the security agencies that leaked that video should be prosecuted, and for his own human rights not being respected.
You know where the wave of your hand stops is where the right of the next person to defend his eyes begins. Now you may say that they are personal, but some of the videos, I have not watched them, I don't intend to watch, I'm not looking for them to watch, but some of the videos actually allege, or some of the conversations around that allege that some of these personal stuffs, in quote, like we call them, happened at the workplace. So I think the government have every right to take on such matters because it happened within its workspace. If there were certain things that happened personally, my take, it's fine. But when it goes beyond one, it goes beyond two. I don't think they don't need to come out. They don't need to come out to sue him. The government have the right to instill certain things once it is gone beyond the normal. Imagine 300 plus. It's worrisome. If he needs to be checked, I said on this platform, I said, if he needs to be checked, it might be a psychological thing. He needs to be managed. Recently, there is also a leaked one of his wife. I think that's also alleged. I don't know how true that is. Now, then it feels that there is something beyond just...
Probably have an open marriage.
Yes, so it's something they need to investigate properly so that they can actually... So it's not out of place for the government to take on the matter, whether the ladies sue or not.
Okay, let's... but on the final, in terms of... what image does it give Equatorial Guinea, and for him personally, is this an end to his public life with such happenings?
Well, I'm not so much a fan of Equatorial Guinea. That's one. Number two, I've not visited. I don't know so much about Equatorial Guinea, so I wouldn't know how much this affects his public life with regards to Equatorial Guinea.
The country itself also.
That's what I'm saying. But generally, looking at, you cannot judge the country based on the actions of one man. I don't do...
Well, is it going to rub up this bad impression on the country?
It has a negative image. It has a negative stigma. People today want to make fun. They rub it in, but like you would always say, we have a way we handle our immunity here. Before you know what is happening, this dies down and he's back on his feet again. So like I said, I don't know what the regulations of his country is with regards to people who are engaged in stuff like that. But if it is Nigeria, I can tell you for free that not so much will be reckoned with. He would have ruined his public image, but I wouldn't know how that plays out. But generally speaking, it's not a good ideology. It's not a good identity for any young man.
All right, a very sad commentary there coming out from Equatorial Guinea. Let's go to the next talking point, where we're looking at the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has said the commencement of the direct sales of Dangote's Premium Motor Spirit PMS to its members will crash price fuel in the country in the coming days. The National Secretary of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, James Tor, disclosed this in an exclusive interview in Abuja. Let's look at this. This should be good news to Nigerians. Or do you still receive this news with some mixed reservations, knowing fully well that you can never say never?
As a Nigerian, it's not an exciting news to me.
That the prices are likely to crash?
No, it's not an exciting news, because in this country there's nothing that goes up that actually comes down. Nothing. That project. So there is nothing that anybody will want to say about it now that feels appealing until we begin to feel the impact. It's no news to us anymore. We're tired of this back and forth between NNPCL, Dangote Refinery, the government here and all that. It's fine. Nigerians need it desperately at this point, because we're at a point where we are gasping for breath. We're managing to survive. You know, somebody said the price of the living is even what the cost of living is even wanting to kill the living. You know, so that's the point where we find ourselves as a nation, and all of this revolves around energy, petroleum. You know, and if we had leaders who are responsive, I don't think this should have dragged up until now. Somebody should have intervened. Somebody should have mediated. Somebody should have stepped in before now. But making it look like it's a broken record right now. What we expected is that before these prices escalated to this point, this intervention should have been made. But be it as it may, we're hopeful. We do not have a choice. We would have to wait until after 4 years. So we're here. We're together. So we're waiting to ensure that there's a change. And until that happens, we're still there.
But the fact that now there's a possibility the fuel will be sold directly, wouldn't that or shouldn't that be something positive? So we hope that will be positive in the coming days. We hope to see how this pans out as both the stakeholders have met, and we're hoping that Dangote and the other stakeholders, IPMAN specifically, will be able to reach a very interesting truce, and this reduction in a couple of days, like it's been promised, would come sooner than later, especially as we reach the business end of the year 2024, talking about the Yuletide season where things jump up. But already, just to let you know that the Naira for Crude Implementation Committee, led by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, on October 11, 2024, permitted petrol marketers to leave Dangote Petrol. Meanwhile, the latest agreement between IPMAN and Dangote Refinery on direct petrol sale has brought an end to the controversy. Let's look at the fact that now we can safely say the NNPCL, which have always played that middle role, is completely out of the picture. Do you think that is one of the bottlenecks we've always had?
Obviously, there is so much about the NNPCL that we're yet to unravel. We thought that when it was privatized, unbundled or whatever it's being called, we should have begun to see the dividends of that process. Yes. But rather than enjoy the unbundling, rather than enjoy all of that, it became something that we could no longer demystify. You know, we didn't understand what was happening around them anymore. You know. Today, the price of fuel is increasing. Tomorrow, they are denying they have no idea about it. Yet, there are filling stations opposite the NNPCL building that sell at a high rate. And yet, NNPCL will tell you they are not aware. So, I don't even understand the difference between NNPCL and the former president, who is never aware of anything. So, at this point, like I said, if Ipman is now dealing directly with Dangote, and we are sure we can get these things, it's long overdue. Whatever would have happened that had led to that, as Nigerians, we're expectant, we're happy that they have finally reached an agreement. And then, because when you hear other countries coming to queue up for Dangote for Dangote product, and we Nigerians in Nigeria are not benefiting from it, you begin to question what sort of country we find ourselves. You begin to question what is really going on. Who is playing? Who is fooling who? There was a time we barely had lights in this country, and yet we were exporting power, and the countries we were exporting to had 24 hours lights. Yet in the country that gives to them, we didn't have light. So you begin to wonder what actually is playing out. What's going on? Is it that somebody is deliberately doing it to enrich themselves?
All right, big question the government has to answer. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be looking at insecurity as the IGP berates police officers protecting foreign hackers. That's one of the big talking points we will take after this break. Stay with us. It's The Desk. Is The Desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
That this country gets it right.
It's The Desk on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on The Desk. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on The Desk.
Is The Desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
we are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
That this country gets it right.
It's The Desk on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on The Desk. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on The Desk.
Welcome back from the break. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has said police officers protecting the arrested foreign hackers were on an illegal duty. On November 4th, the Nigerian Police Force announced the arrest of 130 suspects linked to high-level cyber crimes threatening national security. The group included 113 foreign nationals, 87 men, and 26 women, mainly from China and Malaysia, as well as 17 Nigerian collaborators. However, in an investigation conducted by the media, it was discovered that the foreigners enjoyed police protection before their arrest. Reacting to the report on Monday at a workshop organized by the Standardization of Criminal Investigations, Igbochukwu said the police officers had been arrested and were currently being detained. He noted that their commander had disowned them, vowing that the police officers protecting the foreigners would be dealt with. He, however, clarified that there were individuals in the society, especially employers of labor and big businessmen, who deserved police protection. Let's look at what the IGP is saying. So far, how would you, the scorecard of the Inspector General of Police? We've had him in many different fora and different issues. We saw him get involved in the River State, crisis, where he was asked to not support the 27 lawmakers who had defected, and who the Constitution says once they had defected automatically loses their seats. But we see him, protecting those same persons, and him withdrawing the personnel during that local government elections in River State. We also saw him not backing the federal government when federal government talked about community policing.
The IGP is a very fine police officer as an individual. His academic qualifications speaks volume. He is somebody with good track record, I must say. But you should understand that the position he occupies comes with a lot of influence. So no matter how fine, refined you are, there's a way that position have capacity to sway you. Because whether you like it or not, as much as it's not supposed to be, the IGP's office comes with a lot of political influence. Whoever becomes the IG of police today must be affiliated
to the ruling party,
to whoever is in government at a particular time. And it is what the government wants you to do that you will do, else by the next morning you are out of the seat for no just cause. We've seen in this country where certain IGP's tenure were extended. We've seen in this country where certain IGP's tenure didn't get to the end because they fell out with their political principles. So, you wouldn't completely blame the IG of police for some of his actions and statements. He might as well be reading the body language of his employers. So no matter how much he has his personal opinion, there's an extent to which he cannot implement it. He would need to be political.
Okay.
In his
tactical, whatever he does.
Tactical, that's wanting to play smart. When you use the word tactical, the truth is he's playing politics to continue his stay in power. So these are some of the things that had influenced his actions or inactions in the past. And now when you wake up to say there are certain police officers who are guiding some foreign nationals, foreign hackers
for national security, shouldn't that?
There are things we shouldn't even say in the public. They should be ashamed of themselves ever saying such things. Because the truth about it is, you knew who these guys were. You know what their missions are in Nigeria. And would you want to tell me that the police officers we do not have enough to even protect the citizens of this country?
You say those people are illegal.
We've deployed them
for foreign hackers.
To foreign hackers. In this country today, once you have a white skin, you are entitled to police. In fact, even the police are scared to even talk to you because they believe you are a foreigner, you are a diplomat. So naturally, once you are fair, very soon albinos will begin to be seen as diplomats, and then people will be scared to talk to them. Because we live in a country where we should be able to know who is who. We should have database of who are actually genuine and who should not be entitled to certain things. Yet you would be seeing even some of these your foreigners beating the traffic lights and nobody questions them. They have right to do certain things. You see people in construction sites
And you see more than 3-4 police officers guiding one Chinese or Indian man who smokes to their faces. And then you begin to question what level of humiliation can a Nigerian go through. That policeman will be ready to deal ruthlessly with a fellow Nigerian, all because he is guiding one hacker from one country. This is a country where we are not certain even about our security. We do not have enough police officers to police the nation, yet we have enough who are on illegal duty. How illegal can it be that a commander is not even aware that his subordinate, the commander should have been fired by now, that he had subordinates who are guiding illegally?
But is SGP not also laughable, the fact that he's even saying the commander had disowned his own?
The IGP, for even making such a statement, should have resigned before even making such statement. By now, he should have been called to question. How would such a report get to the table of the IGP? And then he is reporting the stupidity of a commander to the nation, that the commander is not aware, disowned, and then they are arrested. Well, we have a country where impunity works. Anybody can go away with anything. That's why you hear some of this news. Else, in systems and climes where things work, you won't hear some of this nonsense. All of those criminals should have been behind bars. But what do we have? Obviously, the commander might be promoted tomorrow and then given a juicy position or a juicy area to go. Who told you that he wasn't aware? Who told you he didn't get his own kickback? Who told you? How did they get the police officers in the first place? I wouldn't blame them. Well, there was a time I was privileged to travel with a young politician some many years ago, and he was going to his village. I was in the city. So he called and said, since you're going to be free for the next 2 days, why not we take a trip to my village? I said, why not? I'm free. At least it's an opportunity for me to go see your village. And at the point we were ready, I saw some police officers all outside and all that. And I'm like, oh, you now move around with police officers? He said, well, when he wants to go to his village. And I was fine. You need to see the recklessness with which these guys were driving. I made a vow from that day not to travel with any politician before I go kill myself for nothing. You need to see the recklessness, because there was a police in front of us. The road was on mine. We got to the village, and then I think on our way back, after some 2 days, one of the cars had an accident because of the way of their reckless driving. And then I think one other car that had the police officers too, Now, whilst we were on the road trying to get the car out of the ditch where it has swerved into, these police officers saw some other police officers that were traveling on that same road. We were within the same city, so obviously they all belong to the same command and all that. They were hiding their face. They were turning their backs so that they will not be identified. At that point, I knew these guys were on illegal duty. So somebody was paid some money to release officers to escort somebody who had nothing to do with security officers, because somebody sat somewhere and collected some money.
Very sad commentary there. Let's move on to the next. Let's take you to Edo State, where Monday Okpeholo has been sworn in as the governor of Edo State, marking an end to 8 years administration of Godwin Obaseki in the South State. The inauguration ceremony took place Tuesday at the Samuel Bomidia Stadium in Benin City. Let's look at the fact that 5 billion was earmarked for this process, and the outgoing governor was not there to hand over, so to say. Looking at all the controversies that occasion this moment, what's your take?
Laughable. 5 billion naira to hand over.
Borrowed, in fact, was borrowed.
Oh, they borrowed 5 billion to do a handover. Are we not a joke in this country? 5 billion to do a handover. Even Donald Trump that Biden is even handing over to this. You know, there are certain things that I don't understand. When you even want to think that you're transiting from one government that's said to be corrupt to another government who you think the people all voted for, hoping that they would have a better government, then you are stepping in, and your first day in office, you came with a baggage of debt of 5 billion naira. Just because you are handing over. Is there more to what they are giving to him as a handover also? Because I don't understand what kind of country we find ourselves. How are we sure that Okpebholo will be around to hand over to? Because since it's not a trend, everybody runs away when it's time for handover because they are running away from EFCC. How did Godwin Obaseki escape this country that nobody knew? Some say through land border, some say we are a joke. We are a joke. It already tells you the footing on which this government is setting out. With a debt of 5 billion just to have, please, for crying out loud, what are the ceremonies around it? Of what benefit would it be to the Edo people that you got 5 billion? So already you are setting out from day one to begin to look for money to pay back loans. That's just handing over. You do not know how much he had taken as loan to run campaigns. You don't know how many people he's indebted to that he has promised appointments. He has not gotten into government just yet. We are a joke in this country. These are things that in a sane society should not even be heard of. But when we find ourselves, what do we see? Politicians get away with it. Obaseki is fled. We will not see him again for another 8 years. When the whole dust dies down, he comes back to contest for Senate. And nobody questions what he has done. If he begins to talk about the ruling party, they arrest him. If he joins the ruling party, he becomes a saint. Somebody once said that. So if I was Obaseki, I think rather than run away, I would have just declared for APC. And then nobody questions you anymore. Because it's only when you are in PDP or you are in an opposition party that you are arrested. Well, I'm not a card-carrying member of any party, so the truth about it is, it's disheartening when we see how politicians have milked this country dry. And yet, we have no choice. We are helpless. They impoverish the people, make the people so helpless and so handicapped that they can do nothing. There were protests in Abuja recently about the wicked demolition and all that. And he came out to national TV and said, I will continue to demolish. Of course, what would you do? Did you have a hand in his appointment? Of course not. Did you have a hand in the election of the president? No. So you can't even question what they do. So we have politicians who move around with the arrogance of power that nobody can do anything and nobody can question them. That's where we find ourselves as a nation.
Very sad commentary. Let's a quick one. We've got 3 minutes to call it a wrap. The Publicity Secretary of the Arewa Consultative Forum, Professor Muhammad Baba Tuko, has said that the Lukarawa terror group in some part of the northern Nigeria is not new. The chieftain of the ACF also said that at some point around 2017, the Department of State Services, DSS, and the group reached a deal to live peacefully or be attacked. Let's look at this. This is very interesting. DSS and the new group reaching a deal to live peaceful or be attacked, and now they're back. Is that supposed to be the way? Reaching a truce in such a manner?
Well, there are several ways of achieving peace. And if the DSS had thought it wise that reaching a truce would have been better, it obviously had just said that it didn't work.
Yeah.
Now they are back full-fledged, ready, even being beyond even killing, they are luring their victims with good cash. Because in this country, somebody is luring you with 1 million naira to join a group. That's good cash. Even a sane Nigerian will join because of the level of hunger and deprivation we face. But the truth about it is, beyond their conversation and their agreement in the past, so what next? Are we just looking, doing nothing? So how do we want to tackle it? If our first strategy didn't work, let's activate the second until it becomes destructive, until lives will no longer be saved. Is that when we now begin to run around helter-skelter and make it look like we're helpless? I think we should begin to sit up. Rather than begin to have commentaries on this matter, we should begin to do more of tactical thinking, strategic thinking on how to deal with this thing, nip it in the bud early before it degenerates into something we cannot handle as a nation. So beyond all of these commentaries, what are even the modern elders doing? How are they coming? You're coming out to tell us it's no news, it's not new. What have you done as a people? Beyond the help government can render, what are you doing as a people? How are you sensitizing your people? What improvement, what development have you brought to your people to be able to make sure they understand that this is a no-no area for them? What?
All right, a very, very, very interesting conversation we're having here already, but time not our friend, and that's how much time is going to allow us to take on today's edition of the program, The Desk. I want to say a big thank you to the Executive Director of Inspiring Youth Africa, the person of Jeremiah Agala, for joining us in the live studios and helping us look at issues from the global perspective down to the latter. My name is Anthony Mobodu saying thank you for being part of the program, The Desk.